Hello, good evening. I'm Tom Hepworth. You're watching South Today. Good to have you with us. Coming up tonight, battered by Eunice, the South feels the force of the most powerful storm in decades.
It was like a car had crashed outside the front into the building, and obviously I saw part of the roof hanging off. It's incredible, really.
Record winds cause havoc. Homes are damaged, 150,000 are without power, and there's severe disruption to travel.
I'm just wondering, the food's good. We can keep it chilled here.
Destined for the dustbin, the school dinners no one needed as classes were cancelled that are given to charities and people in need. Alexis will also have an extended weather forecast for the region. Plus, the charity founded in memory of a teenager who died doing what he loved, inspiring the next generation of motocross riders. The South has been battered by Storm Eunice, one of the worst weather events to hit the UK in decades. Schools were shut, with thousands of pupils told to stay at home. There was severe disruption to the transport network, with trains, planes, ferries and cars all being affected. Property was damaged, with roofs being ripped off and walls falling down. Many people are counting the cost of the damage that's been caused, and 100,000 properties are still without power tonight. We have a number of reports from different parts of the South for you. But first, Mike Apps looks at how the day unfolded.
We may have been braced for it, but when Storm Eunice arrived this morning, it swept through all in its way. Portland saw winds reach 82 miles an hour, with debris thrown across the causeway. Conditions out at sea were treacherous. The Sandbanks ferry was suspended soon after this was filmed. The Needles saw record gusts of 122 miles an hour. At the peak, Whitelink sailing from Fishbourne stayed outside Portsmouth because it was too dangerous to enter the harbour. Meanwhile, this Red Funnel ferry, which had no passengers on board, had to battle 80-knot gusts as it approached the berth in Southampton. Crossings were later suspended.
The master quite skillfully managed to set the vessel down quite gently onto the end fenders of our berth and manoeuvre the vessel round into position. She probably was using, 80, 85, maybe 90% of her engine power. So she managed to get her alongside with no damage to the vessel or the infrastructure in the terminal.
Many areas experienced flooding, like here in Christchurch, where water rapidly advanced across the quayside. Just along the coast at Mudderford, the seawater also carried inland. On the Isle of Wight, at one point it was hard to tell where the sea ended and Cowes Promenade began, with water flowing into nearby roads. The seafront at Freshwater also took a battering. Solar panels that were attached to this roof in Southampton struggled to cling on. Responding to the damage and disruption was a major task. South Central Ambulance Service declared a critical incident caused by demand and travel problems from the storm. Scottish and Southern electricity networks had staff out dealing with damage to power lines.
We currently have around 100,000 customers without power across our southern region. We've restored power to over 55,000 homes through remote switching, which is where we can reroute the network.
Storm Eunice leaves having made its mark on the south. Mike Apps, BBC South Today.
Well, the coast felt the real force of Storm Eunice, with the strongest winds being experienced there. In Portsmouth, the university cancelled face-to-face lectures and suffered damage to some of its buildings, and the historic dockyard closed for the day. Chrissy Sturt reports now from the city and also spoke to people across the water in Gosport who lost the roof on their home.
Southsea taking the brunt of the storm today. Despite warnings to stay away and road closures, the chance to take storm selfies and share shots on social media brought people out in large numbers.
I've never seen this before. This is shocking. really, really bad.
You come down here in the storm?
To walk the dogs on the common because it's quite open, yeah, no trees, but it was curious as to see the sea, and it's pretty intense, isn't it? Look at that.
Yeah, ever seen anything like this down here?
Not for a number of years.
I'm here because obviously it's an amazing storm and I'm making a film about climate change, and this is the type of storms that are going to be more frequent, we're going to get more flooding, that kind of thing.
The storm has been steadily building all morning and we are reaching the peak now. You can see the wave height behind me, which is now flooding the roads here, and the gusts around me, they are now peaking at about 70 miles an hour. High winds led to widespread travel disruption, and Whitelink customers trying to get to the island faced cancellations and long delays.
I've worked in the ferry industry for a lot of years, and this is probably the worst weather I've seen on the south coast in that time. Maybe up in the north of Scotland I've experienced it, but this is exceptional.
In Gosport, this 5-year-old building lost its roof. All residents were evacuated and must now move into emergency accommodation.
I originally thought it was a car crashing into the building, and that's why I went outside to look, and obviously I saw part of the roof hanging off. For a wind to do something like that with a flat as structurally as sound as that, considering it's newly been built, is incredible, really.
A surprise in Hayling Island when this boat escaped its moorings and got wedged at the bottom of a garden.
Well, this morning we battened down our hatches, but somebody with a gorgeous yacht certainly didn't. And it smashed into our sea defences at the bottom of the garden, and so we've now got a rather nice yacht sitting there.
Back in Southsea, people were still coming out to experience Storm Eunice up close and personal. But across Hampshire and the Isle of Wight, it's left much devastation in its wake. Chrissy Sturt, BBC South Today in Southsea.
Really powerful pictures, and thank you very much for sending us your pictures. If you do have pictures that you want to send us, you can do so to our email address south.today@bbc.co.uk. Now, the wild weather moved along from Hampshire along to the coast to Sussex. This was the scene at the seafront in Worthing. At times, waves were crashing onto the promenade. Elsewhere in the county, Southern Rail have cancelled most of today's services because of obstructions on the line. Bus services with Stagecoach have been suspended and several roads have been blocked by fallen trees. At Gatwick Airport, a number of flights were cancelled while other planes struggled to land on the runway. Now, disruption descended on our transport network on what would ordinarily be the half-term getaway, with fallen trees on many roads. Ferries and planes were delayed or cancelled. And on the trains, many rail operators were forced to run reduced services. Joe Campbell sent us this report from Reading, which at one point had no trains running at all.
This was Berkshire's first ever red alert for dangerous wind speeds, and the day lived up to expectations. At the station, things began badly enough for those who couldn't stay at home.
The train's normally over on the other side of the station, 10:12, cancelled. But someone's told me there's a train at 10:30 from platform 11 that will stop at Newbury. But I don't know. I don't know if that's right. I've just come over here to have a look. If this train isn't actually running that I've been told about, then I'll just go home.
Reading's bin men too were heading back to base, and you could see why. And if you thought you could do some DIY waste disposal, well, think again, as the recycling centre shut its gates. Back at the station, things were going from bad to worse. Well, in the last few moments, there's been an announcement over the tunnel here to say there are now no trains running in and out of Reading after the overhead power lines were brought down. They'd already lost the routes to both Waterloo and Gatwick because of multiple trees across those lines.
Passengers waiting on platforms are asked to make their way to the footbridge to listen carefully for further announcements.
You're a bit more stressed than me, aren't you?
Stressed, but there's nothing you can do. I mean, things happen, don't they, like this? You just have to find a way around it at the end of the day. So, you just have to be patient.
The prospect of one last train brought people running.
I've come to work, but then they cancelled it because of the storm anyways. But by the time I got here, everything was cancelled. So actually, this train is sort of like my last hope. If this comes, then it should be helpful at least. Yeah.
But the relief was short-lived.
Unfortunately, due to the ongoing weather issues that we are experiencing here today,
There will be no trains which are going to any destination.
Soon tempers began to fray.
He said there's no transport, there's no buses, there's no trains, there's no tube from Reading. He said stay on the train. Well, if the train ain't moving, what's the point of staying on it?
But with the station full of stranded trains, there was plenty of time to cool off and wait for Eunice to blow through. Joe Campbell, BBC South Today, Reading.
Not a day to travel. The closure of schools has caused plenty of disruption, and not just for teachers, pupils, staff and parents. In Bournemouth, a catering company was left with thousands of unneeded school dinners and offered them to charities to avoid wasting them, as Bryony Leyland reports.
So this is all the food that we would have had going out to the schools today.
Yeah.
Everything was cancelled at the last minute yesterday afternoon. So some of the things we have are fish fingers. So we have 4,000 odd fish fingers that need to find a home today. We have some chicken korma.
Storm Eunice led to supersized leftovers for this catering company. They provide around 3,000 school meals a day in Dorset. The food is cooked the day before it's needed. With the school shut at short notice, the team started early, appealing for anyone in need to use it up.
We have thousands and thousands of portions of food here that really need a home. So if anyone from homeless charities, any charities at all, can take it, and they're very welcome to come and take it and feed whoever they can feed with it. It's good for a few days. It's been cooked and chilled, so it's just got to be reheated, so it's ready to go. Yeah, I'm just talking to YMCA.
While Declan fielded calls from local charities, the storm began to build outside. In Christchurch, dog walkers were out early before the worst of the weather came.
She needed to come out. We live locally, so I'm very aware of what's happening with the weather. But yeah, it's going to pick up, isn't it? I think it's going to get worse, so out early if we can.
Down the road in Mudderford, the beach car park was closed as the wind and tide rose.
People we've spoken to here in Mudderford this morning say they've clocked wind speeds of 90 miles per hour. It's just after midday and those gusts keep coming. But now high tide has passed, the risk of flooding to homes has eased.
Back in the kitchens, the first in the queue for the school dinners is a charity that helps the homeless in Bournemouth.
Every cloud has a silver lining, doesn't it? So, yeah, they have a difficult day, but we benefit from it, which is fantastic. We run 2 community meals a week, and our next one is actually on Sunday. So we're going to be able to use this food.
A big dent in the fish finger mountain, which by the end of the day had vanished. Demand was such that not a single meal was wasted. Bryony Leyland, BBC South Today, Bournemouth.
Well, we'll be following the clear-up from Storm Eunice in our weekend bulletins, and you can keep up to date with your local weather forecast and traffic and travel over the weekend on your BBC local radio station. Alexis will also be here pretty shortly with a full forecast for the weekend. Do stay tuned for that. You're watching South Today. Still to come on the programme tonight, a fitting legacy to a talented teenager, the charity inspiring the next generation of motocross riders. The Health Secretary, Sajid Javid, has opened a new research facility to combat COVID-19 at Porton Down near Salisbury. Scientists at the secretive Wiltshire site are used to dealing with chemical weapons and deadly diseases. Well, these new labs are dedicated to the development and testing of new vaccines that will help us now and against pandemics in the future. With more, here's our health correspondent, Alistair Fee.
Getting hands-on with the latest tools to protect us. In Porton Down, the Health Secretary Sajid Javid was taken behind the scenes to see our first line of defence.
When the pandemic first started, we were very fortunate to have this facility because it's played a hugely important role, and it's one of the reasons we've had the quickest and I would say one of the best vaccine responses of any country in the world.
Scientists here have been at the forefront of developing and testing new COVID-19 vaccines. This new lab space will now make that even faster.
We are able to invest in new upcoming technology, automation technology, basically that helps us to increase the high throughput rate. So what we were able to do when we were working in our previous building, what we were able to do in a month, now we can do in a week.
This is about future-proofing the country, ensuring that we're finally entering the end of the worst of the pandemic. This lab is the new front line in the ongoing fight against COVID-19.
What we need to do is keep checking for new variants, and then every time we spot one, we need to check that the immunity we've developed is okay, will protect us, and actually use that information to work with industry, with pharma, to ensure that we've got new vaccine products coming along and new therapeutics as well.
When the Omicron variant first came into the country, it's here they studied whether the vaccines would work to protect against it.
I had answers back within a couple of weeks. That was the fastest response, I think, that any minister received in any country in the world. And we were very lucky to have these facilities. And now, with this additional investment, I think ultimately it will just go to protect the British people even more.
This new building is one of two that together make up a new £65 million vaccine centre that will be critical in the ongoing pandemic response, maintaining the country as a global leader in research over the years ahead. Alistair Fee, BBC South Today.
Looking to the future. And Lewis is here now for the sport. And speaking of looking to the future, if we had a crystal ball, who knows what might have come about. But Storm Eunice hasn't left the sporting schedule unscathed, has it?
It's hard enough following a team up and down the country as it is, isn't it? So when you throw in something like the storm and the potential impact on travel disruption, it's terrible. It's really difficult for fans whether to travel or to not, whether the game should go ahead or not. It was meant to be a huge night of football for AFC Bournemouth, but just a few hours before kick-off, their game against Nottingham Forest at the Vitality Stadium was postponed over safety concerns. And Logan Lawson has more details.
Well, it was supposed to be a Friday night under the lights here at the Vitality Stadium, but there will now be no football played at all this weekend due to the ongoing effects of Storm Eunice. Well, the club, they released their official statement at 4 p.m. That's 3 hours and 45 minutes before the match was scheduled to kick off. In the statement, they said that the stadium was unfit for supporters due to damage to the roof and the stands. Well, reports are now claiming that all 4 stands have damage in different measures and there was no prospect of playing the game tomorrow. Well, for Nottingham Forest, they travelled down last night and they've said in a statement they are extremely disappointed at the news. None less so than the travelling Forest fans, some of which left at midday today. Well, Forest have already said they'll offer free coach travel for the rearranged fixture. Well, questions will now be asked as to whether the match could have been postponed sooner, and Bournemouth will have to wait until Tuesday before they can get back onto the pitch.
Yeah, thanks to Logan for that report from the Vitality Stadium. You can imagine, Tom, fans have been getting in touch saying, why was the decision taken so late? Why was it not called off earlier? It's my understanding that there was a structural engineer had to do inspections and they had to wait until the wind died down until they could do that. And then once they had the result from that, it was ordered that a structural review needed to take place. That obviously takes time as well. So there was this prospect potentially of having the game tomorrow, but once the structural review was ordered, that couldn't take place as well. And certainly Bournemouth didn't turn down the option to play on Saturday as being reported elsewhere. But fans, particularly the travelling fans, as we mentioned, they've really been inconvenienced here and they've been getting in touch. Stuart Lepper got in touch on Twitter to say should have been cancelled yesterday, but that's hindsight, I guess. Yeah,
Mariam Fontaine said there was a genuine risk to spectator safety in travelling to the game, never mind the state of the stadium.
Yeah, and it's also worth adding that the EFL, the English Football League, said that they're extremely disappointed that the decision was left so late as well. So we'll wait to see when that one is rescheduled for. Elsewhere this weekend, assuming the weather allows, of course, Southampton host Everton with Nathan Redmond available, while Brighton are looking to get back to winning ways when they host Burnley. Reading will be looking for their first win in 10 games when they travel to Preston North End in the Championship. In League One, Portsmouth can make it 3 wins on the bounce as they travel to Crewe, and there's also tough away matches for both Oxford United and MK Dons. And in League Two, Swindon make the 540-mile round trip to Carlisle. You wouldn't want to do that and get it called off. Now, it was disappointment for Guildford skier Ollie Davis at the Winter Olympics in Beijing. Needing to finish in the top 2 in his ski cross heat, the 24-year-old had a difficult start, knuckling the second roller and ended up finishing a second back from the eventual winner.
Training, I was feeling good. My starts were always really good in training. And I just, one mistake in the start, and that was, playing catch-up from the get-go, and it's a track that's hard to pass on. It's still pretty raw, it's not how I wanted to ski.
Yeah, tough luck for Ollie there. Now, how do you fancy taking on 2 of the world's strongest people in a test of strength? Not me and Tom. Bill Casimir and Rebecca Roberts will be competing in a strongman competition in Christchurch in Dorset this weekend. Roberts is currently the strongest woman in the world. The event at Empire Fitness is also open to beginners.
We've got all the events that you would see on World's Strongest Man. We've got log presses, got Atlas stones, deadlifts, all the things you see on the telly, but it's going to be right in front of you. And we've got, obviously, Becca here is going to be reffing it, and Bill is going to be commentating, entertaining the crowd, giving his experience on the events. And so if you have never competed in strongman, you fancy giving it a go, you can still turn up on the day and enter and give it a go yourself.
Yeah, also this weekend, Winchester's Matterley Basin is due to host the Motocross World Championships. It will be a poignant moment for the family of a young Dorset rider who died during a race in August. Jude Morris was just 17 when he crashed during the British Motocross Championship. A charity in his name will now support young riders across the UK and the Air Ambulance charity.
Jude Morris was one of the UK's brightest young motocross talents, a shining star in the sport that was dimmed far too soon. But Jude's name continues to burn bright in the form of a charity foundation set up to help other young riders.
Jude inspired a lot of people and we wanted to carry that on, so setting up the foundation seemed like a very, very natural thing to do. Motocross being a motorsport can be expensive, you know, it's not easily accessible to everyone. We're helping them with kits, with helmets, with gloves, with boots, you know, just trying to give them more of an opportunity to ride. Emma, on behalf of the Jude Morris Racing Foundation.
20 pence in every pound raised is also given to Air Ambulance Services, who scramble to motocross courses in the event of an accident. With family, friends and celebrity chefs adding their support to the cause, the total has already reached over £80,000.
Jude will be remembered for something very special, something super amazing, and you know, anything that can lend a hand to the progression of young people, having a go at doing stuff, chasing their dreams and following it through. If there's anything that's going to be great coming out of this, it'll be that.
One person who knows just how talented Jude was is friend and current MXGP rider Ben Watson, who's now determined to help the foundation inspire future generations to enjoy the sport that was so close to Jude's heart.
Big thumbs up, everyone.
You know, you go out on track, you're racing together with each other and you hit each other and you do everything you can to get the win, but when you leave the track, it's like one big family, so it's something that hits not only the local clubs and the small families that knew Jude personally, but it hits the whole sport.
Here's what happened round 2 of the F1.
Weather permitting, this weekend will see the world's best riders line up for the British Grand Prix at Matterley Basin in Winchester. A celebration of a sport that attracts audiences and competitors from around the world, but also a poignant moment for Jude's family, knowing he should have been there.
When I come to events like this, the fact that Jude's not here is really tough. It is really tough. But if we can take something that was incredibly sad and turn it into something positive, then to me that's better than sitting at home and not doing anything.
Well, in the last few minutes, police have confirmed that a man died and another was seriously injured in an accident at the height of today's storm in Hampshire. Officers say a Mercedes pickup van hit a tree in Old Odium Road in Alton just before midday. A man in his 20s died at the scene. A second man, also in his 20s, is being treated at Southampton General Hospital. Detectives are appealing for witnesses. Well, Alexis is here, as you can see, with an extended forecast, and it really has been unprecedented weather today, hasn't it? Just how strong have these winds been, Alexis?
We've seen some very strong winds, in particular along the coast. The Needles on the Isle of Wight, it's a very exposed area, saw a gust of 122 miles per hour. Now, provisionally, it's the highest wind gust at the moment in England ever. And even for inland areas, we saw gusts of up to around 80 miles per hour.
Well, as you can see, with 122 miles an hour at the Needles, it's been much rougher on the coast.
It has, yes. We've had some very large waves. Let's take a look at some pictures. This first one is taken by Ian in freshwater. You can see the large waves crashing against the side of the shore there. And we've got some pictures taken at Mayflower Park in Southampton by Colin Lee. Just imagine standing in that wind, very strong indeed.
You need to do it at a 45-degree angle, I think. When can we expect an all clear? Because there are still some warnings in force and some more still to come.
Yes, I'll talk about that in the weather forecast. But first of all, let's take a look at your pictures. Dave Harrop sent us this shot from Poole Harbour this morning.
Thanks to Tim Reekie, who photographed the Isle of Wight ferry trying to cross the Solent at lunchtime before it turned round and went back to Portsmouth.
And Angela Walters captured her barograph needle showing a sharp drop in pressure in Princess Risborough. So today, yes, very, very strong winds from Storm Eunice. Storm Eunice is currently pulling off towards the North Sea and will disappear towards Scandinavia. This person lying against the wind in Bournemouth in Dorset, photographed by one of our weather watchers. And the Isle of Wight ferry, photographed by the captain of the ferry, Captain Jim. Very rough seas out there. They were literally just outside Portsmouth, waiting to ride out the storm. Through the course of tomorrow, we are going to see very strong winds once again. There is a yellow wind warning. I'll talk about that in just a second. Now, through the course of this evening, we've still got Storm Eunice. Gusts of maybe up to 80 miles per hour. Currently seeing gusts inland and along the coast of up to around 60 miles per hour. Overnight tonight, the rain will clear away. There will be a few showers dotted about, but those showers could cause some icy conditions with temperatures falling to freezing. We could even see a touch of frost in some places in sheltered areas away from that wind. So the winds will ease slightly overnight tonight, but they'll start to pick up as we head through the day tomorrow. So there is a Met Office yellow warning in force for southern coastal counties in the Isle of Wight. Inland gusts up to 50 miles per hour, and that's through the day tomorrow. Along the coast, gusts of up to 60 miles per hour. So still some very strong winds out there over the weekend. Tomorrow we start on dry and a bright note with lots of sunshine. Then a band of very heavy squally rain will move through, followed by some sharp showers, but also some sunshine and patchy cloud as well, with a high of 9 to 11 degrees, so just into double figures. So the winds on the inshore waters tomorrow, the coastal forecasts are very strong once again. They are southwesterly 7 to severe gale 9, decreasing 5 to 7 for a time, then veering west 6 to gale 8. And the sea state is rough or very rough. The rain rattles through tomorrow night, clearing most places. Clear skies will develop for a time before further spells of rain will arrive during the early hours of Sunday morning. So we start Sunday on quite a cloudy note with some very brisk winds. So winds staying very strong Saturday night into Sunday, with a low tomorrow night of 6 to 8 degrees. Looking ahead to Sunday, still very strong winds. We could see gusts maybe up to 60 miles per hour. There isn't a wind warning yet, but it may be issued over the next few days. We'll see that rain move its way through with the very gusty winds. So Storm Eunice is slowly but surely this evening moving away towards the North Sea, moving eastwards, clearing most places. The winds will fall slightly lighter tonight, but it's going to be a very blustery weekend all in all. Tom.
Alexis, thank you. Not quite out of the woods yet, then, in that case. That is how it's looking in the south tonight. Thank you for being there. We're back with more in the late news at 10:25. In the meantime, from all the team, good night.
Good night.